A short while ago, I did a build mixing the Purification Cleric, which can give a vulnerability to fire, and the Dungeoneer Fighter, which can exploit vulnerabilities to gain heroic inspiration, and I was impressed with the amount of damage it did, given that not all of the damage it was doing was fire, and I couldn't help but think, what if monk? I've not done a monk build on this, and I don't know that this technically is a monk build. You'll see what I mean as we go. But the results of this one are pretty good, and it outputs some pretty crazy damage despite the fact that it's not using spells, which is a nice change of pace, frankly. Let's get into it, shall we? We are going to start with a background. We're choosing the Giant Foundling. We're going for the Strike of the Giants and the fire-based version of this. This gives us an extra d10 of fire damage once per turn, a number of times equal to our proficiency bonus per long rest. I feel like I said per too many times. We're going for the Goliath. Our species, we're going for Goliath, and we're going for the Fire Giant here as well. This gives us 1d10 as many times as we want per turn, but only up to our proficiency bonus per long rest. And our scores should look something like this. We want an alright wisdom for reasons that we will get into. So I've gone 16 in wisdom, 17 dex, and then 15 con. The rest are all 8. And because this is a monk build, we're starting cleric. Look, don't at me. Or do, it's good for engagement. You can choose whatever you want for anything really here. The key thing is that we're going for protector because we want access to a rapier to begin with. The spells are irrelevant for the purposes of this. Technically, we could take accelerate, decelerate to add a couple of d6 to our damage, but I'm not going to do that. I don't want to be using spells. I just did a spell build 2 weeks ago. You cannot make me do another one this early, or last week. The trouble is I upload all of these in advance, so it's pretty tricky for me to remember which ones I did in which order. It doesn't matter. The point is, take supportive spells because they're helpful. Bless is a banger, obviously, then you've got Healing Word and things like that. So take good supportive spells because you're going to be a good supportive boy when you're not smashing stuff. Because we've got access to the rapier and we want to be attacking with our finesse, with our dexterity, we want a finesse weapon, hence the rapier. So we're going to be doing 1d8 plus 1d10 from the species plus 3, which is our ability modifier. So we're doing 17.5 damage on average at level 1, which is silly. This is very much a Novery kind of thing, so that isn't going to be consistent, but you could spread those d10s around and you'd still be doing, if you only do 1 d10 there, for example, it would still be 12 points of damage, which is still quite strong. Level 2, not much changes. We get the Channel Divinity, but it's not relevant until level 3, where we are going to once again going to take the Purification domain from Grim Hollow. This does a couple of things for us. One is that we get a number of d8s we can add to our unarmed attacks or weapon attacks, which is fire damage, and we can do this a number of times equal to our wisdom modifier plus our proficiency bonus. We get all of these on a short or long rest, so this is quite a reliable boost to our damage. We also get spells, as I said, not doing spells. The main thing is that we get Unclean Brand, which reads, when you hit a creature with a melee weapon attack or unarmed strike, instead of dealing the strike's normal damage, you can expend 1 use of your Channel Divinity to sear a symbol into the creature's flesh, marking it with a glowing brand for 1 minute. During that time, the creature has disadvantage in saving throws against your spells, not relevant. Additionally, the creature gains vulnerability to fire damage you deal, even if it normally has resistance or immunity. Now that is relevant. We're not going to be using it just yet, but it is relevant. We are now done with Cleric for a while. We are now going to go into Monk, which is the bulk of the build. So at level 4, it's worth noting that at level 3, the level that we had prior to level 4, that's how numbers work, our damage goes up to 22 average, which is not bad still, despite the fact that this is a mess. At level 4, we get all of the good monk stuff, including martial arts. The rapier at the moment does more damage than our monk damage dice, so we're just ignoring the fact that we have it. So don't worry about it. Still 22 damage. Monk 2, level 5, we get a proficiency bonus boost, which is nice for the things which are relevant to that. We also get unarmed movement, which means we can not wear armor if we want to, but we probably can still because we've got the protector thing. Level 3 is where stuff gets fun. To be fair to the previous levels, you could be using your bonus action to punch, obviously, and you could actually add a d10 and a d8 to both of those, which would mean that the damage wouldn't be 22 at all. It would be 1d6 plus 1d10 plus 1d8, which is 3.5 plus 5.5, which is 9, plus 4.5, which is 13.5, plus 3, which is 16.5. So actually the average damage once you get Monk, so on level 4 and 5, does actually go to 38.5, which is not bad at all. I don't know why I forgot to factor that in when I was putting the numbers together for this. Who knows? Anyway, Level 3, we're going Warrior of the Elements because we want to be doing fire damage. The main thing that this gives us is the ability to imbue ourselves with elemental energy, which gives us the chance to have longer attacks, which is useful, theoretically, but mostly that we can change our damage type of our unarmed strikes to fire damage, which is good. We can also move stuff, but I don't care about that. Let's get the elemental spell. Elementalism spell? It's not relevant. At this point, you can Flurry of Blows slightly more reliably, which means that you can do an average of 71 damage at this point, all of which is fire damage, which is pretty tasty. At level 4, we get our first feat. It's at this point where the build comes online properly. So with our first attack, we can brand a creature using our Channel Divinity, which means we're not doing any damage. And then we can Flurry of Blows twice, all of which is fire damage, which is doubled, which means that we're doing 71 damage at this point, which is nice. That's nearly a 100% increase on the previous. Level 7, which is level 4 monk, is really interesting. So when you hit a creature with an unarmed strike as part of the attack action, it does not state that you need to deal damage, but you can do damage and also grapple. Because we're giving up the damage to do a brand, to me that reads as though we can still grapple, which means your first attack on your turn, if it hits, you will be branding the creature and also grabbing them, which gives you advantage on all of your attacks from there on. That is pretty good. This also boosts our dex to 18, which is a nice 2-point bonus. So we are now doing 73 points of damage at level 7, which is respectable. Level 8, we get extra attack, which is always good, and also stunning strike. Extra attack is a big boost, obviously, and this gives our total damage a nice bump up to 110. The build I did with this last time, like I said, was a fighter build, and because of Action Surge, the Nova damage for that build was actually 113, which means that we are currently 3 points behind. Given that we're not action surging, I think that's quite impressive. Level 6, we get some stuff. It's really not relevant. It's cool, but it's not relevant to what we're doing here. Monk level 7 is the same, still 110. I know I'm blitzing through these. It's because I've done this sort of build before and I want to just talk about the damage more than anything else. Monk level 8, we are going to be taking Charger. We're going to be boosting our dex to 19 here, which is something. Along with boosting our dex or strength, it also means that when we take the dash action, our speed gets even better, which is good because we can do that as a bonus action. But more importantly, if you move at least 10 feet in a straight line towards a target immediately before hitting it, with a melee attack as part of the attack action, it does not state that it has to be a melee attack before as part of that attack action. So to me, you can add the d8 to your second hit. That is how I read that. I could be wrong. Anyway, you can add a d8 bonus to the attack's damage roll. It does not state the damage type here, and because it's the attack's damage roll, I would view that as being fire, so we're going to be doubling that as well, which means that this puts our damage up to 119 at level 11. This, rather conveniently, this puts us at perfect parity with the fighter version of this, which brings me a great deal of numerical joy. Level 9 is still 119, which is good. Level 10 sees a big boost to the damage because it gives us our heightened focus, which means that when we expend our focus point to do Flurry of Blows, we can make 3 attacks instead of 2. One extra attack is a pretty big boost to damage, so we're now doing 152 damage, which is 30 damage ahead of the fighter build at this level, which is a lot. 152 damage on that first turn, and keep in mind we're foregoing one of those attacks to brand. If we really wanted to be full Nova, we would take a turn to set up by branding on one of the turns, and we'd be doing another 33 damage on top of that, pushing this to 185. But I'm not. I'm trying to keep this on one turn, just because, I don't know, it's fun. Level 14 is Monk 11. It gives us Stride of the Elements, which gives us a fly speed and a swim speed. Flying is cool. We're here for it. It also gives our Monk dice a little bump up to a D10 from a D8, which is not bad going at all. We've been punching for a while now, as I said. So we're now doing 160. Weirdly, this falls behind the fighter build because at this point the fighter gets their third extra attack, which means the second extra attack, which combined with Action Surge is 1 extra attack, basically. We're doing more damage per hit, though. And then we're going to go up to Monk 12 to finish the Monk progression for now. Actually, for the build. If you've watched any of the builds on my channel that deal damage, you'll be unsurprised to see that we're taking focused critical. Ultimately, the chance to crit more is pretty good. And because we've got advantage on most of our attacks, and we are hitting a lot, this gives us a 57% chance to crit per turn. On top of doubling all the damage already because of vulnerabilities, this makes for potentially up to 112 damage on a crit, average damage as well, so it could actually be a lot more than that, which is a lot of damage. It's 164 per turn average, because it's also bumped our dex up to 20, which changes our modifier from a 4 to a 5, which is lovely. At this point, we're going to multi-class again. I've not done a triple multi-class before. This is kind of fun. We're taking Fighter because I want Action Surge. Unfortunately, the fighting styles and the weapon masteries don't mesh especially well with this. We cannot imbue our weapons with fire damage, which means we can't take advantage of Nick, which would have been nice. And none of these work especially well. The unarmed fighting means we can use a D8 instead of a D6, but we're already using a D10, so that's not especially useful. I would recommend either using the defense fighting style if you're still wearing armor, or blind fighting feels like it would be a lot of fun as well. Weapon mastery, absolutely, just pick your favorite, not relevant at all. So that is 164 damage still. Naturally, things change a fair amount at level 2 fighter, because we are now a level 17 character, so our proficiency bonus is up to 6, which is nice for a couple of the features. But most importantly, we get Action Surge. Action Surge means we get another 2 attacks, both of which can do another 36 damage average. So our damage average now is up to 236, with a 72% chance to crit on this turn. Again, we're foregoing 36 damage, so theoretically that could be 272 damage if you do the grapple on the turn prior to this. But even being able to put out that much damage in one turn is just absurd basically as a martial. And with no items, might I add. There are no specific weapons or anything else that we're relying on for this. This is just good old-fashioned synergy, and also suffering through the first 6 levels or so of the build. Level 3 fighter, which is level 18 for us. I am just going to be taking the champion again. It's so boring, isn't it? I'm certain we could be taking something else and getting more out of it, like the Battle Master, but I like the increased chance to crit. It boosts us up to an 86% chance to crit because of the additional improved critical, and it also lets us run around a lot if we crit, which is very funny. Also, advantage on initiative rolls is pretty sweet as well. At level 19, we're going level 4 fighter, and we're going to be taking an epic boon. We're going to take the boon of combat prowess. This pretty much ensures you're going to be beating things up for, basically, we're going to boost our dex to 21, and this reads, when you miss an attack roll, you can hit instead. We can do this on our first attack to brand and grapple with 100% certainty, and then you have advantage on every single attack you make from that point onwards. That is pretty good. Doesn't do anything for the damage though, so it's still 236 or 272 if you decide to brand a turn earlier. And then for our final level, we're going back to Cleric to get level 4 there as well. We're going to be taking another epic boon. It really is pick the one you want here. I like the dimensional travel one for teleporty shenanigans, but most importantly, we're boosting our dex up to 22, so we have a +6 modifier without any nonsense, really, outside of the preposterous amount of multi-classing we've got. This boosts our total damage up to a total of 242, or if you decide to brand the turn before, it would be 289, which is not bad at all. And on a crit, you'd be doing an average of 114 damage if you crit on the big one. And given that you get to choose where you add a couple of these modifiers, you can pretty much always crit on the big one, which is really quite tasty. Yeah, this build almost rivals the preposterous Conjure Minor Elementals stuff that I've been putting together that I don't want to put together anymore. It's not as consistent, but it doesn't rely on spell slots or concentration or as much setup. There's no setup on this. Like I said, the damage numbers with you doing everything on the same turn is still 242 damage. And yes, you are level 20, but you are also a monk fighter cleric, which is kind of sick in and of itself. So that's that. Kind of blitzed through that one. I apologize if you've not seen the monk stuff before, or if you wanted me to go into more detail. This is kind of a revisiting a theme, a concept I've done before. Like I said, I didn't want to spend too much time going through all of the stuff I've sort of talked about again, but it's super fun exploiting vulnerabilities that you can give to a creature, and it has me almost wanting to multi-class, which isn't something I ever do when I'm playing D&D, because I like the features I'm going for in this class and the subclass that I'm going for. But that is that. I hope you are doing well. I hope the week is treating you well and you are looking forward to an exciting and relaxing weekend, whichever you prefer. Both is good, to be fair. Until the next time we meet, do take care of yourself and take care of the other people in your life. Anyway, goodbye.